Have you ever heard someone say, "It takes money to make money," and thought, well, great, guess I'm screwed then? Because same. We've all seen those videos where someone claims they turned $100,000 into $1 million through some brilliant investment strategy, but no one ever talks about how they got the first 1,000. That boring, awkward, microscopic first step that feels like it shouldn't matter, but it does. In fact, that first $1,000 you save or invest is 10 times more important than your first 100,000. Sounds ridiculous, right? But stay with me. Because the psychology, the math, and the habits that build the first 1,000 are literally the foundation that determines whether you'll ever see the 100,000. Most people never cross that first line, not because they're lazy, but because they underestimate how powerful small beginnings actually are. My name is Michael, and I help people understand money the way school never did. Not through complicated charts or guru nonsense, but through real-world logic. Because once you finally get how money actually behaves, you stop chasing it and start controlling it. The first 1,000 is built, not found. Here's the thing. No one finds their first 1,000. You build it, dollar by dollar, choice by choice. It's the money that comes from saying no when you'd rather say whatever. When you skip the $10 delivery fee or cancel the subscription you forgot you had. It's built in the moments when no one's watching. That's why it's so important, because it teaches you the mechanics of discipline. 100,000 doesn't magically appear. It's just 1,000 repeated 100 times. But if you never learn how to build 1,000, you'll never sustain 100,000. Real life example? Someone earning 40,000 a year who saves just 5%. That's 2,000 annually. Most people would laugh at that number. But that's the entire engine. Because if you can carve 2,000 out of 40,000, you've just proven you can create a surplus. That's the first domino. Without that skill, no raise, no promotion, no investment opportunity will ever fix your finances. The emotional consequence is simple. People who skip the first 1,000 stay in financial survival mode forever. They tell themselves they'll save when they make more, but more never feels like enough. Punchline. Your income doesn't determine your first 1,000. Your habits do. Small numbers reveal big leaks. Here's where it gets interesting. When you're working with small amounts, mistakes are visible. You notice them. If you blow $50, you feel it. That sting is valuable. Because later, when you're managing 10 or 100,000, those same bad habits just have bigger zeros attached. Think about it. If you can't manage a checking account with a few $100s without overdrafting, what happens when you have 10,000? The numbers change, the behavior doesn't. Let's be honest. Everyone has that month where they swear they'll get serious about budgeting, then they check their account mid-month and it's mysteriously empty. Tracking your first 1,000 forces you to see where your money actually goes instead of where you think it goes. It's like financial night vision goggles. You start seeing all the invisible leaks, the little charges, impulse buys, and random treat-yourself moments that collectively rob you of progress. Emotional reality check. That first 1,000 exposes your excuses. Once you see the leaks, you can't unsee them. Punchline. You can't fix what you won't measure, and the first 1,000 makes you start measuring. Discipline scales. Motivation doesn't. Most people try to save money the same way they try to start working out. Motivated for 2 weeks, exhausted by week 3. But discipline is what actually builds wealth, and the first 1,000 is where discipline is born. Anyone can get hyped about saving money for a month. That's not impressive. The real flex is consistency when nothing exciting is happening. When you're skipping a restaurant, not because you're broke, but because you have a goal. That quiet, boring consistency is what separates broke forever from building for real. Once you've trained yourself to consistently save $50 or $100 at a time, scaling up becomes automatic. The behavior is baked in. You don't need a pep talk every payday, it just happens. Motivation burns fast. Discipline compounds. Punchline. If you can't save a little when you make a little, you won't save a lot when you make a lot. The math works harder than you think. Here's where the math nerds will appreciate it. Everyone underestimates how powerful that first 1,000 can become. Let's say you invest that first 1,000 in a basic index fund earning 8% annually. After 10 years without adding another cent, it grows to around 2,160, double, doing nothing. But if you keep adding 100 a month, that's about the cost of 2 dinners out. You'll have over 17,000 in 10 years. Now, $17,000 might not sound like much, but that's exactly the point. Because at that stage, your returns start to rival your effort. The interest becomes noticeable. You've created a self-feeding system that runs whether you feel motivated or not. This is why wealthy people obsess over starting early. The earlier you get that first 1,000 working, the more time it has to multiply itself. Time is the one thing you can't earn back later. You can't catch up on compound interest any more than you can catch up on sleep. Punchline: the first 1,000 isn't about the amount, it's about starting the clock. The psychology of ownership. Stay with me, because this is the part nobody talks about. When you have zero, money feels abstract. You want it, but it doesn't feel real. The moment you have that first 1,000, something changes. You go from wishing to owning. That 1,000 might not buy much, but it buys identity. You start thinking of yourself as someone who has money, not someone who's always catching up. That psychological shift is massive, because how you see yourself financially determines every decision you make after. You treat money differently when it's yours. You check your balances, you read the fine print. You suddenly care about interest rates and fees. It's like getting your first car. You drive differently when you paid for it yourself. Emotional consequence. That first 1,000 makes you respect money. Without that respect, you'll never keep the larger amounts that come later. Punchline: your first 1,000 changes who you are, not just what you have. The $1,000 filter. Here's where most people never notice what's really going on. Your first 1,000 teaches you what's actually important to you. It's the moment you start filtering every purchase through a different lens. When you've fought to save that first 1,000, you start asking, is this worth delaying my goal? Before you buy anything. Suddenly, the $10 impulse purchases that used to feel harmless start looking like sabotage. You stop chasing every sale or gadget because you finally have something more valuable to protect: progress. That's why the first 1,000 matters more than the first 100,000. The 100,000 doesn't change your mindset, it rewards it. The 1,000 creates it. Emotional wake-up call. Until you value what you've already built, you'll keep trading your future for short-term comfort. Punchline: the first 1,000 gives you clarity about what actually matters. The safety effect. Most people underestimate the psychological power of having even a small cushion. That first 1,000 isn't just money, it's peace of mind. It's the difference between panic and patience when life happens. Your car breaks down? Instead of throwing it on a credit card and paying interest for months, you just fix it. That small buffer turns financial emergencies into inconveniences. And that shift changes everything. When you're living paycheck to paycheck, every surprise feels like disaster. Once you've built that first 1,000, you start realizing you're not completely helpless. You can handle stuff. And that confidence spills into other areas of life, work, relationships, even health. Because financial stress is the background noise in almost everyone's anxiety soundtrack. Turn that down, and life gets quieter. Punchline: $1,000 can't buy happiness, but it can buy calm. Proof of concept. Here's something I wish every broke 20-something understood. The first 1,000 is proof of concept. It's you proving to yourself that wealth building isn't a fantasy. It's not for other people. It's math that works when you do. Once you've seen your balance climb from 0 to 1,000, you've crossed the hardest psychological barrier, believing it's possible. After that, your brain switches from if to how fast. That's why some people go from 1,000 to 10,000 faster than they ever expected. The hardest part was believing it could happen. It's like the first push of a stalled car. Brutal at first, but once it's moving, momentum does the rest. Punchline: once you've built your first 1,000, you stop doubting and start scaling. The confidence loop. Most people think money confidence comes after you have a lot. It's actually what gets you there. That first 1,000 builds a feedback loop. You save, you see progress, you feel capable, and that feeling fuels more saving. Each small win reinforces the behavior. It's the same reason fitness coaches tell people to start with light weights. It's not about the number, it's about building trust in yourself. Once you know you can do it, adding more becomes natural. People who skip that first stage often collapse under the pressure of larger amounts. They get a sudden bonus or tax refund, and it vanishes because they never learned to handle smaller sums responsibly. That's why lottery winners go broke. They never built the muscle. Punchline: confidence is built, not inherited, and your first 1,000 is the gym. The trap of I'll start when. Here's the part that might sting a little. Most people never build that first 1,000 because they're waiting for the right time, the right job, the right raise, the right circumstance. But there is no right time. There's only now. Every delay is expensive. If you wait 2 years to start saving, you're not just losing those 24 months. You're losing the compound growth that money would have created forever. Waiting feels harmless, but mathematically, it's devastating. Real talk, if you can't save $50 now, you won't save $500 later. The habit doesn't appear magically when you earn more. It's formed in scarcity and carried into abundance. Punchline, the right time to start building wealth was yesterday. The second best time is right now. The respect test. Once you've earned your first 1,000, watch how you handle it. That's your financial personality in raw form. Do you protect it, invest it, blow it on something meaningless? That first 1,000 reveals who you are with money and who you're willing to become. If you spend it impulsively, you've learned that you're easily influenced by short-term emotion. If you invest it and let it grow, you've learned patience and foresight. It's like a personality test you can't fake. Here's where the emotional consequence hits. People who disrespect their first 1,000 rarely get to keep larger sums because money responds to respect. The more you treat it with care, the more it multiplies. Punchline, the first 1,000 isn't about the amount, it's a mirror. The identity upgrade. Look, this is where everything comes together. The first 1,000 isn't a financial goal, it's an identity shift. You stop being someone who tries to save money and become someone who does. That subtle difference changes how you think, act, and plan. You start saying things like, I can't justify that purchase right now, instead of, I can't afford it. You move from scarcity language to strategy language. That's when you know you're no longer just reacting to money, you're managing it. Punchline, once your identity changes, the results become inevitable. So where does this leave us? The first 1,000 isn't just a milestone, it's the blueprint. It teaches you discipline, awareness, patience, and respect, everything your future wealth depends on. The 100,000 is just that lesson repeated. With bigger numbers and slightly better tools, most people underestimate small beginnings because they're addicted to dramatic results. But every financially independent person you admire started with a decision, not a dollar amount. They made one consistent choice, to start where they were. You don't need to earn 6 figures to change your financial future. You need to master 3 figures first. That's the quiet truth no one wants to hear because it's not glamorous. There's no viral headline in person saved $1,000 by cooking at home. But that's the story that actually matters. Here's the shift. Stop obsessing over becoming a millionaire. Start obsessing over keeping your first 1,000 because the skills you build to protect that will automatically take you the rest of the way. Remember, you don't need to look rich. You need to stop being stressed.